Remote directing and client monitoring. This is something I didn't even think, when I bought this, it was for doing some live productions, but I've actually used it more for remote client directing than anything else. Due to COVID-19, there's a need to reduce people on set. We just can't have as many people, and we can't have them all huddled around a monitor, breathing in each other's fumes. It's just not going to work. And some clients really are just unable to get to set due to the restrictions that may or may not be in place. And so I've worked on quite a few productions now where it's just become standard. We've got to set up some kind of system so clients can dial in, see what's going on, see it in good quality, and be able to interact with it as well. So I've got a couple of case studies from things I've done before. This was a very simple one. A doctor talking about, guess what, COVID-19. He was being directed by a client in the Netherlands. They wanted me to set up the camera, set up the green screen, light him, brief him, mic him. Then they wanted to run their Zoom conversation to an auto cue, and they wanted me to then press record and just let him talk, and they would direct him. And this worked incredibly well. This wasn't using this box of tricks. It was actually using a much simpler device that I just plugged the camera into the laptop, opened up Zoom, and there we go. I was working with very professional clients who've done a lot of broadcast work before. So for them, I put up all the camera information on the screen. You can see the Zoom call there. Which way am I pointing? That way. And that meant they could fine-tune things. They wanted the audio levels a little lower. Fine, no problem. They could make notes from the time code. And it meant they felt like they were just pretty much on set. Once everything was set and I got tweaked the shot as they wanted, I sat back and let them direct. Their audio was coming out of the laptop, so the client the interviewee rather, sat in front of the camera could hear them talk, as could I. Because the audio was going into the camera, it also went through into Zoom, and they could hear him nice and clearly on his mic. And I have to say, it worked really well. It was just like having a couple of directors and producers in the room with me. And they were very pleased by the end. Let's just see if there's any questions. There we go. Okay, so let's have another case study. So this was a slightly different shoot. This was a product shoot for a beer company. Getting nice pack shots of their beer being poured in a kind of studio environment. Again, we couldn't have clients on set because there were just too many of them. But because it's a product shot, product shoots are very, very specific. There's a lot that goes in. If any of you have done product shoots before, it's got to be just right, because it's that one thing that sells the product. Is it too shiny? Is it what's the condensation like? What's the head of the beer like? All those kind of conversations which are important to the client and important to the end result. For this kind of setup, we wanted to really give them the feeling like they're in the studio. Sometimes the problem of just feeding them just the one shot. As soon as people wander off, they've got no idea what's going on in the studio and they're left twiddling their thumbs. That's not the kind of experience I want to give my clients. If they can't attend the studio, I want to do everything I can to make sure they feel like they're in the studio with me. So what I did for this one, I used this little box of tricks. I set up a second camera that was doing a wide shot of the whole studio. So whenever there was nothing going on in the main camera, I could cut to the behind the scenes camera. They could see people wandering around doing things. They know that their money's being well spent and that things are happening. I was also able to give the director a radio mic and a wireless headset linked to the laptop, so he could wander around the studio having conversations with the client instead of having to be huddled around the computer. And I have to say, it worked remarkably well. Here we go. This is basically what the client at the other end saw. I put a picture-in-picture for the. I should have put the monitor to the other side, so I'm gesturing to the right way. I did a picture-in-picture of that behind-the-scenes camera so they could see what's going on. I put a little bit of camera information through onto their camera, so again they could just say, they could take note of what take number they were happy with. And it meant whenever they wanted to see take 2, take 3, we could go back and see the exact take they wanted. I've also, if you notice, put their client logo up in the top right-hand corner, because why not? I've got the ability to put graphics over the top of things with this little box of tricks. So everything that makes them feel like they're a high-level production for them. And it worked really well. And at one point there was a part of the shoot that was green screen with red packaging, which they weren't sure how it was going to look red. I didn't even mention to them I could do live green screen with this, so I could, a couple of clicks away, they could see red in the background. I colour picked the exact red of their logo, and the client was able to see, oh yeah, it does look good on red. Oh, we weren't sure. Oh no, that's great. Oh, let's do them all on red then. Perfect. And I wouldn't have been able to do that without this. So great box of tricks to have available. So let's just have a little run through. So the great thing about this over any other kind of production switcher is I can use it as a webcam. I can stick a camera into it, stick that into the laptop. To any software, it's now a webcam, so you're not restricted to Zoom. If someone wants to use WhatsApp, if someone wants to dial in via Skype, you can use whatever the client's comfortable with, and I think that's important. I don't want a solution that's so techy the client doesn't know how to use the software. So the fact that I can get this to work with things like Zoom or Skype is essential. The fact that I can feed audio into it's also great. If we've got a large studio and people are wandering all over the place, it can be hard for people to hear out of a laptop, or as soon as you wander away from the laptop's mic, no one can hear you. But I can run radio mics into this, so I can give a couple of people radio mics, mix it all together, and the client can hear more than one person in the studio at once. So there's a lot of potential here. And I can still switch between cameras. On a multi-cam show, I can show the client loads of different cameras all at once. And as I mentioned, adding a behind-the-scenes camera really gives that kind of feel of, they're in the studio.